Good morning. Good morning to this morning's lecture session. This is EE391 MM391. Good to see you guys and good to have you back this morning. I hope that you have had a good week this week with me with engineering economics. We've been looking at some basic topics such as interest and we've been looking at some basic topics such as interest and compound interest, simple interest, and how banks operate. And we've also been doing some tutorials which were more discussion and theoretical in nature. Let us kick off this morning by just reviewing a particular one of the tutorials. Okay, let me share my screen. Can you guys hear me and see me? Right? Is that everything is okay? Okay, let's hang on. I want to share my screen. Okay, you guys can see my screen. Can you see my the Moodle shell?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, okay. 391. Okay, I want to kick off this morning with a discussion on one of the questions uh, from yesterday's tutorial, so that just gets us into gear. By the way, just for housekeeping, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying my best to record the lecture and host it on YouTube. How many of you have been able to watch the videos on YouTube after the thing? Well, if in fact, if you're attending the lecture already, you're probably good to go in terms of there's no really a need for there's not really a need for what do you call um, for you to actually rewatch the videos unless you want to really re-look at something else, right? But I've got that there. I'm hosting it on YouTube because I found that the YouTube server is very reliable. It never crashes, and you can watch it from your mobile phone. So this is lecture one. Let's just see if it works. Lecture one.
So the
There we
first
go. That
concept
was
is
lecture
that
one, right? And lecture two. Right, okay, so I've got 15 views here. That means, okay, few students may have been watching it. All right, now the one I want to discuss this morning is this particular tutorial, the tutorial from this week, which was tutorial 7, week 8, semester 2. All right, the question which I want to focus on is question 6 and 7. This is very important for you to understand. All right, now let's just do a quick recap of this tutorial. I know you attended yesterday's tutorial. Some of you attended with me, and then there was 2 more sessions in the afternoon. Okay, all right. Now, um, the the question 6. What is the core method uh, with which a bank makes a profit? Right. So banks make a profit by lending money and charging interest on it. All right. So the scenario, the example I gave yesterday in one of the tutorial sessions was that the bank, okay, if you go to a car, let's say you need a car to travel to Nandi, right? You need a car to travel to Nandi, and you what do you call and you need a car to travel to Nandi, and you don't have a car of your own. Okay, nice, no problem. Okay, no problem. Um, what then happens is that um, you you go to a rental company, you hire that car, right? You hire that car. That car does not belong to you. Remember, the rental car does not belong to you. You hire the car, right? And you pay some rent, right? You pay rent. And then after you've used the car, or basically after you've used the car, you pay the rent, right? And that's it. And you return the car, right? So there's two things happening here. You don't own the car. You only use the car for a short period of time, and then you return the car. You are returning the car, all right? And you're also paying some fees. You're also paying some amount of fees. So that's like the car hire fees, right? So remember that concept. Let's take it to another level. Let's take it to another level. Let's talk about rental property. Let's say you need an apartment to stay in. So you stay in an apartment for 6 months, right? That apartment does not belong to you. You're paying some fees. And what is that fees called when you use that apartment? What is that fees called? You pay some money to the landlord to use that apartment for, let's say, 6 months. What is that money called? Anyone? Hello? Anyone? What is that money called, guys? Hello?
Lending money.
Yeah, that's called rent. Yes, that money is called rent. All right. Now, once you finish with the 6 months, you've paid your rent for the 6 months. So you've paid the landlord this money, which is called rent, right? And then you return that apartment. That apartment does not belong to you. Now, let's take that same concept. So we spoke about the same concept in the rental car business, the same concept in the what do you call in um, uh, the the apartment business, and the same concept goes to a bank. You go to the bank, you ask them to use their money, so they give you, let's say, $50,000. You return their money together with a certain amount of fees, but in this case that extra fees is called, what is that extra fees called? That extra fees is called interest. So that's the catch over here. So basically, this interest is basically the fee which you pay for hiring the bank's money. But in the end, you have to return that original amount, which is called, what is that original amount called? The original amount. Guys, what is this original amount called? Come on, I want participation in the class. Guys, what is the original amount called? Anyone?
Down payment.
No, it's called the principal, right? The original amount which you hire from the bank is called the principal, plus the extra money which you pay them for hiring that money is called interest. So you see, the same concept is being used in three different domains. The example of the landlord and his apartment, saying you're paying rent. The example of the rental car, of hiring the car, and then there's this example here of the bank. So it's the same concept, but in this case, instead of returning an apartment or returning the vehicle, you're returning the original amount, which is the principal, and you're returning some fees, which is called interest. All right, so the terminology has changed. Now, what else happens when you take a loan, guys? When you take a loan, let's say you take $150,000 loan to buy a house, right? You take $150,000 loan to buy a house, right? Now, what the loan does is it puts a mortgage on that house. It puts a mortgage on that house, which means the bank sort of owns that particular house until you've made the full repayment. What does full repayment mean? You've got to clear the you've got to clear the what is it, the principal amount. You've got to clear the principal amount together with the interest, right? And what happens in the case, let's say you got unemployed due to COVID, or something happened and you were unable to pay the rent? What happens there, guys? Not rent. You're unable to pay the bank, do the bank repayments. What happens? Anyone? What is the key word here?
Repossess.
Yes, repossession. basically the bank, in fact, in the beginning, the bank will give you an opportunity. They'll call you up. They'll say, hey, they'll try to show some understanding. They'll say, hey, you know, if you're struggling, we understand the situation is very tough. Fine, we'll help you out. We're trying our best to help you out. We'll reduce the amount due every month, but we can increase the term. So if it was, let's say, a 15-year loan term, we can increase it to 20 years, right? So you can pay over a period of 20 years with smaller installments to be paid, smaller repayments to be paid every month. Fine, right? Eventually, if you still can't afford it, what happens then, guys? If you still can't afford it, what happens? Well, basically the bank steps in, repossesses your house, and then auctions the house out. It auctions the house out, or it does a mortgagee sale. It's called a foreclosure. There's a foreclosure on your loan, right? It does a mortgagee sale on your property, and then let's say you had taken the loan 2 years ago. In the process of those 2 years, you had already paid. It was $150,000 loan. In let's say in that 2 years, you had already paid something along the lines of, let's say, $12,000, right? So what the bank will do is the bank will deduct some penalty. So let's say it might have a penalty of $3,000. It will deduct some penalty, and oh, sorry, when it did the mortgagee sale, the bank is selling the property for a higher amount. Remember, in that 2 year period, let's say you took the loan out in 2019 and you couldn't pay in the 2 years, and now the bank does a mortgagee sale. This year, the bank will not sell the property for 150. It might end up selling the property for 170. Why is that? Well, because we're talking about property, a house is always situated in one. What does a house sit on, guys? You can't just build a house like that. What do you have to build the house on? Anyone? Come on, guys. What do you have to build the house on? Land. You need to build a house on a piece of land. So even if the property, the actual house, the physical structure is weak and does not carry any value, the value of the land has increased, right? So even if the value of if the value of the property has deteriorated in the 2 years, it has depreciated, the actual physical structure, the value of the land has increased. And therefore, because the value of the land has increased, the whole value of that property increases, because the house sits on a piece of land. So now the bank, when it does the mortgage sale, it will sell it for 170. It won't give you 170. It'll come and give you, remember, you had paid 12,000 already over those 2 years. Then it will deduct some penalties. It'll charges and all that. So maybe it will deduct some penalties of 3,000. In the end, it will give you $9,000 back, right? And so $9,000. So 170 minus 9, the bank has made a profit of 161. There you go, guys. It's made a profit of 161, right? So in the end, who wins in this case? The bank wins, right? The bank will always win, right? Okay, so that's the situation for a property. Let's look at question 7. If there's a bus company, Lozala Bay Bus Company, and it takes loan from Bank of Lambasa for $1 million to purchase 10 buses at $100,000 each. All right. After 4 years of business, because of all the COVID rules, maybe the bus businesses are not doing well, because you can only fill the bus till what, half capacity, or what's the rules now, guys? Anyone know about this? How much can we fill the bus?
80%.
80%. All right. So at 80% capacity, let's say it was 50%, right? You can't make a profit now. So what happens then is the company is unable to make the repayments, and it says to the bank, hey, sorry, we have to surrender. We can't really cope with this. We are making big losses. Not only are we making big losses, but we don't have any money to repay you for your repayments. So what will it do? The bank will repossess those buses. When the bank repossesses those buses, what do you think happens? Right? The bank will repossess the buses, and it will also try and it will try and sell those buses. Remember, these buses are now how many years old in this particular question 7? They are now 7 years old, right? These buses are now 7 years old. So what happens in this particular case, guys? because it is 7 years old now, what can you tell me about the value of an asset after some time? This is related to question 5. What happens to an asset? It depreciates. Right, it depreciates. Why does it depreciate? Number one, it depreciates because of wear and tear. Obviously, when you use those buses, right, it depreciates. Secondly, it what happens? What else happens, guys? Not only there is new buses, newer models out on the production line, out from the production, causes the value of the buses to sink. So when the bank repossesses these buses, which it had helped the customer buy for $100,000 each, and then it resells those buses, right? It resells those buses. It might only be able to make $60,000 each on those buses. So the bank has made $600,000. It might then go after the company, that bus company, right, depending on how much loan repayment, to maybe sell some other assets of the company. It might want to go and see what else it can capture. So there might be a legal challenge to make that company bankrupt. So let's say the company was owning a garage as well. So the bank will go after not only the buses, because remember, the bank gave a loan of 1 million. After repossessing those buses, it could only sell $600,000 worth of buses. So what happens to the remaining 400,000? It will still go and try and recapture something over there. So the bus company may have had a garage. So the bank will initiate bankruptcy proceedings, and it will try and capture the garage. Maybe the garage is only $200,000. So in the end, the bank recovered how much? $600,000 from the buses, $200,000 from the garage. Total recovery is how much, guys? 800,000. If the total recovery is 800,000, that means the bank has made a loss of 200,000. So that's what you call a bad loan, BAD loan, bad loan, right? And the bank will have to write that off on its books. Now, so that's what would usually happen. In fact, in the first case, the bank will always try to help the customer. The bank does not want to get rid of the customer. The bank will always try and say, oh, we'll extend the terms, we'll do this, we'll do that, to improve the business. Because the longer the bank can keep you engaged, the more profit it can make. The bank does not make much of a profit by repossessing property and selling it, or vehicles and selling it, right? The bank makes profit by keeping the customer engaged in a longer term. The longer the customer is engaged with the bank, the more interest it will pay. Remember, when you look at those formulas for compound interest and simple interest, what is the factor there? There's a time factor, and as time increases, the interest amount increases as well. All right. Okay. Now, let us say this bank was only loaning out to lots of bus companies, right? Let's say this Bank of Lambasa, it was loaning out to all the bus companies in Vanwalevu and Tavyuni, right? What happens in this particular situation if most of those bus companies start to become bankrupt because of high fuel prices, high maintenance costs, COVID, and all this kind of thing? So what will happen on the books of the bank? It'll start to show lots of bad loans. Yeah? Right? It'll start to show lots of bad loans, and therefore, what would happen then? If it starts to show lots of bad loans, the bank may become in trouble. Yeah. Worst case scenario for the bank is the bank may become in trouble. And this has happened many times. In Fiji, it happened with a bank called National Bank of Fiji. There was lots of bad loans. It wasn't about bus companies or anything. There was many bad loans, right? And there was a bankruptcy. A bank had to be sold off, right? So same thing happens here as well, guys. And also in America, there's lots of banks which went down as well. Okay. All right, guys. That's it for our discussion from question 6 and 7. These are two important questions, and I want you to truly understand how a bank works. All right. Remember, you deposit the bank. How does it get its money? It gets its money, the core amount, from what you deposit. Then it loans it out to other customers, at a high interest rate, let's say 9%, and then it gives you 3%. So there's a spread, there's a difference there. It's something called a spread, which is 6% difference, and that's where the profit is. All right, guys? Okay, let's move on to today's lecture. I'm going to stop sharing this particular screen, if that's okay with you. All right, I'm going to start sharing. I'm going to start sharing the. Oh no, I would like to share the Word document. Sorry, 1 second, please. All right, guys. Let me share the screen. All right, guys, can you see my Word document? Can you see the Word document, guys? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay, thank you. Yeah. I need you guys to be, yeah. Okay, all right. Set. Okay, so we were looking at this particular problem where we, if we, the key point I want to make over here, guys, the key point I would like to make is that, the key point I want to make is that is the fact that if you go from the present to the future, that's called compounding. If you go from future back into the present, if you roll something back, that's known as, if you roll something back, that would be known as discounting, right? Okay, all right, there's compounding. So let me just mention this particular note over here, right? So particular important point is that compounding is taking the present value, right, and moving forward in time to get the future value, right? Whereas the other important point is discounting. Discounting is taking the future value, right, and moving back in time to get the present value. All right, so if you go from left to right, right? Okay, right? If you want to move forward, you always do compounding, and the other way is discounting. All right, okay. Now that's one important point which I wanted to make here. All right, let us now look at this question. What was the question, guys? Let's just review this question here. Let's. I just want to mention today's date. What's today's date, guys? Today is 15th October 21. All right, and the this is week week 8. Week 8 lecture 3, lecture 3. All right, okay. The week 8 lecture 2 was last week's one. All right, okay, this is week 8 lecture 2. All right, I'll find out the date and I'll put that up. All right, guys, so let's start off with today's lecture. All right, okay. The reason why I'm using Microsoft Word, I hope you can see my Word document clearly, is because we want to, it's easy for me to scroll back and see what was done in the previous week. All right, now if you look at this example, your auntie had offered you 3 choices. Choice 1, $100 today. Choice 2, $110 today. $110 in 2 years' time. And choice 3, in a set of 3 payments as follows: $20 now, $50 in 1 year's time, and $35 in 2 years' time. Okay. All right. Now, let's now take an interest rate of 2%. But let's now take an interest rate of 2%. So what I'll do is, it's very easy for me to just do something like this. All right. Okay. Assuming, okay, so interest rate of 2%. So if we take an interest rate of 2%, so I'll change that to 2. Can we now calculate this? What do we get here, guys? There'll be $102 in 1 year, right? What will this one be, guys? Can somebody give me an amount for this? We're doing the same problem from example 3, but we'll call this example 4. 4. Repeat example 3, but assume an interest rate of 2%. Okay. All right. So what do we get here, guys? Can somebody tell me? Come on, guys. I want your participation.
104.04.
104.04. All right. Thank you. Right. I want you guys to have your calculator ready. I don't want you to just just attend for the purpose of me marking your attendance, right? It is important that we that you actually participate in these lectures with your calculator. All right. Let's now look at this guy. Right. What do we get here? If we do 110, so what was the case here in the second choice? Choice 2 is 110. We have to roll it back. So let's do this one. 110, 1.02 squared. What do we get here, guys? Can somebody give me this one? Choice 2. Come on, guys.
105.72.
So this one, that's 105.72. Thank you. Who's the next one? Let's see. Let's see. What do you get here? You can't say second best. We don't know what the value is right now. What's this one, guys? 110 divided by 1.02.
107.84.
107.84. All right. Okay. Let's now look at this guy here. So all we did was we changed the interest rate. Okay, now let's roll it back because $20 is now, right? $50 we have to roll back 1 year, discount 1 year, and $35 we have to discount by 2 years at a rate of 2%. So what do we get? And in this case it was $110. We discounted over here to get this particular time frame. We have to discount by 1 year, or in this time frame we have to discount by 2 years. So what do you get, guys, for this particular one?
$104.64.
Okay, and if we another time frame which we can use is if we can take it to the future value. You can take it to year 2. We can take it to year 2. In year 2 this is 110, so no calculations needed. This one we've already done that, right? What's the future value over here, guys? 35. Why do we use 35? Well, because 35 is the actual value in that point. 50 we have to roll compound by 1 year, and 20 we have to compound by 2 years. Answer. What do we get, guys?
106.8.
106.80, right? Okay, now let's have a look at this. Which year do we let's do the comparison in year 2. So the comparison in year 2 is is what? The choice 1 is 104.04, right? Choice 2 is 110, and choice 3 is 106.8. So which becomes the best choice, guys? This becomes the best choice, right? And what about this guy? This becomes the second best. Okay, and what about this guy? This becomes the third best, or the worst, right? Okay, now let's compare our answers from question example 3 and example 4. Let's go to example 3. In example 3, what did we get, guys? What was the best? The best was choice 1, the second best was choice 2, and the third best was, right? The third best was choice 3. Yeah, so best, second best, third best. Choice 1, choice 2, choice 3, right? Now what happened to the best in this case? Can you see? Just by changing the interest rate, the best has become the last, right? And choice 2 was second best, it has become best, and choice 3 which was last has become second best. Hey, the other way to do it is, if you don't want to compare in the year 2 time frame, we can compare in the year 1 time frame. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, let's look at the year 3. Which one is the best over here, guys? Which is the highest amount? Choice 2. So same answer, right? That's the best, right? What's the second best? It's choice 3, right? And what's the last? It's choice 1. So I mean, that's all I'm trying to show you, is that hey, if you don't want to compare in terms of year 2 time frame, you can compare in year 1 time frame. So you don't have to do all the sets of calculations. You just have to bring it to one particular time frame in order to do it. But my key point over here is, what is the observation? What is your observation, guys? Observation. What is the observation? The observation is that change in interest rate has different winners for example 3 and example 4. All right, okay. All right, so different interest rate, the interest rate affects the interest rate affects the particular thing. All right. Okay. All right, guys. Let's now move on to another problem. Okay. All right. Um, let us now look at another problem.
Sir,
Yes.
before we continue, I just had a question about like the way the questions are asked.
Yeah.
So in this case, we said it said that you'd get 100 first year and then do 110 second
Okay.
year.
Let's look at that. Yeah. This one. Right.
Yeah. So like once we've solved, you've told us to do compounding. I mean, compounding and discounting.
Yeah.
But if we just go through normal questions, how do we decide if we're supposed to compound or discount?
Oh, okay. Hey, there's always a choice. Look, you have to, at some point in time in the question is given. As far as we are concerned, we only want for you to find out which is the best choice. Is choice 1 the best choice, choice 2, or choice 3? Now, what I'm showing you in the lecture is I'm showing you two methods to solve the same problem. That's maybe I missed out on that part. I'm showing you two methods to solve the problem. All right. There are two methods. Either we the thing is we have to choose a particular time frame. We have to choose a particular time frame in order to make a determination, in order to make a comparison, right? So we can either choose, let's say, today, right, the time frame for today, or we can choose the time frame for year 2, or even if you want, you can choose the time frame for year 1, but then there's much more calculations, right? So what we are doing is you have to choose one particular time frame in which you can do a side by side comparison. So let us say if you choose today, right, then all you're going to do is if you choose today, for choice 1, no calculations required. For choice 2, you have to discount the 110 by 2 years. For choice 3, you have to discount the 35 by 2 years and the 50 by 1 year, and then add it to the 20 for today, right? And then you do a side-by-side comparison. If you want to choose, let's say, your comparison time frame to be year 2, if you want to choose your comparison time frame to be year 2, then you have to compound. So for choice 1, you have to compound the 100 by 2 years. For choice 2, you don't need to do any calculation, right? Because it's already in the year 2 time frame. Okay? And choice 3, you have to do some calculations for today and year 1. All right? Okay? Okay? So does that answer your question, guys? So what I'm doing in this lecture is I'm showing you both the methods. So that's why you'll see the answer. I didn't write it over here. I'm showing you the answer I'm showing you the answer in both the time frames. But in reality, you just need to tell me what is just choose one time frame and just show one set of calculations. You don't have to show both. That's only for learning purposes, which I'm showing you both. Okay? Is that all right, my friend?
Yes, I get that. But what if as the question was, and we took 110, and then
Yes.
we compounded it for 2 years. What about then? Because that would be wrong.
No, yeah, you can't compound 100.
Because it just says you get 110 in 2 years.
Yeah, in 2 years' time. That means in first 2 years you won't get anything. You'll receive the 110 in 2 years' time. So you don't compound it because you have to you won't compound it because you're already getting it at 110. You can only compound something if you have something in an earlier point of time. Like for example, you won't receive any interest at the bank if you don't deposit anything. If there's no deposit going into the bank, you can't receive any interest. So
Yes.
so you don't have anything to compound. So that 110, basically you don't have anything to compound. So that's the thing. So you can't compound something which you are receiving in the future. You have to compound something which you receive now, or somewhere in the middle. So for example, this 50, you can only compound it for 1 year. Why? Because you only had it for 1 year when in our time frame. All right. Does that clarify your confusion?
Yes, sir. I
Okay.
understand how to do the question. It's
Yeah.
just that the question becomes a bit ambiguous at that point as
Okay.
to whether we are to compound and discount, because it doesn't state in the question
No,
that
no, no,
you
no.
are.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. The question does not say whether you have to compound or discount. You have to
Yes.
choose. When you choose the time frame, according to that particular time frame, you have to then determine what you have to do. Okay. Let's say you want to compare in the today's time frame, or you want to compare in year 2 time frame. Then according to that time frame, you have to do according to, for each choice you have to roll. I mean, you have to apply the correct calculations. Okay. You don't. It does. The question does not say. The question just says compare and tell us the best. That's all we want. All right. Select the best choice.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right. No, that's a good question. I appreciate you guys actually listening in and listening in and then giving us some giving your query in. Right. It's better than having a silent lecture. All right, guys. Let's move on to I want to now repeat example 3, but I want to up the game. I want to take it up to another level. All right. Um, Okay, no, this is a more basic question. Let's do example 5. All right, very basic question. Uh, Tom promises. Okay, this is a very basic question. You $650, right, in 3 years time, right? What is the present value if what is the present value if the bank interest rate is 5.2%? Very simple question, guys. This is actually like a rollback question. In fact, this was the question which I wanted to start off with, just to get you guys warmed up. But anyway, let's move on. What do we get, guys? So Tom promises you $650 in 3 years time, right? So future value is equal to principal into 1 plus interest rate to the power of time. Okay. What is the future value, guys? 650. And what is the principal? We don't know. Principal is the present value. That's what we've got to calculate, right? And the interest rate is 5.25%, which is 0.0525. Is that correct? Yeah. To the power of time, which is 3. Okay. So we make present value the subject of the formula, right? And what do we get? This is very simple. In fact, yeah. All right. Thank you, Kesnil. It's $557.50. All right. Okay, let me up the game now. Let's look at example 6. These are, I mean, for you guys as engineers, this will be very, very basic. But I promise you, soon we will go into some of the big gun kind of thing. But still, for engineering, it's a very simple analytical course. Okay. Ken borrows 2000, no, not borrows, lends you $2,500, which is to be repaid in 4 years time. The amount agreed to be repaid is, let's say, $3,500. What is the interest rate if simple interest was used? Compound interest was used. Simple question, guys. Simple question. Basically, we just have to make it the subject of the formula. Come on, guys. Let's see. I'm pretty sure, you know, like engineering students, you guys are, you know, this will be easy game for you guys. All right, let's look at A. Okay, let's look at A, guys. For simple. Guys, what is the final amount when you look at future value? So in simple interest, future value is equal to principal, right? Present value into 1 plus, what is it?
Interest
1
times
plus
time.
interest times time, right? Interest times time. Okay, I'll just put a dot there just to, yeah, okay. And what is the future value in this case, guys? 3,500 is equal to present value 2,500, 1 plus I, which is unknown, times T, which is, what is T, guys? T is 4. Yeah? Can you tell me what is I?
0.1.
Really? I is 0.1 or 0.1, which is equal to what? How many percent? 10%. Right? I was starting to think, how can interest rate be 0.1%? All right, set. Everyone okay with that? That's very easy. Like, you guys will be laughing all the way. I mean, 4th year engineering students, this sort of question is peanuts. All right, now let's look at compound. Future value is equal to present value into 1 plus I. What's the difference here? 1 plus I to the power of T. Set. We know that formula from a long time ago. Okay, now what is the future value, guys? Future value is 3,500. Present value is 2,500. 1 plus. Okay, now this is maybe still, you know, to the power of 4. Can you guys calculate I for me? I is equal to? Anyone? You can put it in the chat box if you want. You don't have to speak out if you're shy. What do you get for I, my friends? Anyone? I? Okay. So how did we do that? Basically, you just make the, you have to do a nth root, right? Not a cube root, but an nth root. Okay. I'm not going to explain the thing to you, but that's how you get I. Okay. Okay. So these are simple things which you got to get the hang of. All right. So can you see that in compound, the interest rate was lower. In simple, the interest rate was higher, right? But because of the fact that it compounds, a lower interest rate, even in compound interest, it accumulates. All right. Okay, let's now look at another problem. I want to look at example 7. Okay. Same as yeah. Okay, let's say same as example 3. Example 7. Same question as example 3, but with so maybe I'll just give this particular. Can I just give this particular example a title? So it's different. Oh, we have class at 11. Okay, okay, all right. All right, guys. No worries. Different discount rates. I'm going to finish off very soon in the next 3 or 4 minutes for different years. Okay. All right. By the way, which class is at 11? Can somebody tell me which class is 11? Oh, presentation for 362. Oh, and also 363 as well. Okay. Okay. The following rates. So this is the problem which we want to do. So first year equals 1%, and second year equals 5%. So this is a more realistic. In fact, the banks always have this sort of scenario, right? I'm going to just check the time over here. Guys, by the way, I will always follow, for our time, I will always follow Google time, all right? So we'll, if you want to know Google time, you just type time, you just type this in Google. Go to Google, and type time suva. All right. Okay, guys. We don't have enough time to finish off this particular problem, but we're going to do this particular problem in our lecture on Monday. Okay. I think what happened this morning was I took a bit of time to explain to you the tutorial problem and how the banks work, because that's a very important concept. You need to fully understand how a bank works. All right, guys. Google is telling me that the time is up. We are at 10:59 now, and we'll finish off. From next week, guys, we will start the lecture at exactly 2 minutes or 1 minute past 10. I'll give you a 1 minute settling in time. Please be in the lecture room before that, and I'll roll off. I won't wait for 5 or 10 minutes. All right, guys. Thank you for coming in. And for those of you who want to stay back and just ask me some questions and discuss, I'm just going to hang around for the next 15 minutes. I won't introduce any more notes or any examples, but if you have any confusion, I'm going to hang around in this room, in this Zoom room for the next for the next 15 minutes. All right, just in case anybody needs any confusions to be cleared off. All right, thank you. I am available here for your assistance. All right, okay, thank you guys. I'm going to stop the recording as well from my side.